The number one rule that I've found in entrepreneurship and really in life in general is you have to believe in yourself, especially when others don't. I figured out that sales is the number one thing that matters in business, because if we don't sell, nobody eats, right? Nothing happens in a business until a sale is made.
When a business is stuck, when somebody comes to you and says, hey coach, what can I do? What's the first thing that you usually see as the constraint?
The first thing I ask them is what makes them happy? Because in the world of entrepreneurship, we don't index for that enough.
Welcome to the CEO The Salesman podcast, where we sit down with CEOs, founders, and industry insiders to talk about what really drives growth, sales, and the mindset that scales organizations. Today, we're joined by DJ Carroll. DJ is an author, speaker, coach, entrepreneur, and has been around the industry for a long time, as we were just talking about. I'd love to get your insights today on how people can break out of the mold that they're currently in and how to really grow their business. So welcome, DJ. How are you going?
Appreciate you having me here, Matthew.
Hey, mate, before we get into what you're doing now, I want to sort of take your mind back to the beginning, before you got into what you're doing now. So if you think about your career early in your career, what things do you think you would give advice to early DJ to help the expansion? I know you're really successful now. How would you speed that expansion? How would you speed that success up for yourself?
Yeah, man. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. My senior year of high school, I turned down 8 football scholarships and started mowing grass. And I like to say an entrepreneur was born. I've always had a keen eye for the hustle. My dad and I, when I were younger, we used to buy mopeds and go-karts that weren't running, get them running, hit them with a rattle can of spray paint, and then sell them in the yard sale in the springtime. Come from very humble means. My mom stayed at home and raised me and my brother and babysat kids, and my dad's never made more than $20 an hour in his life. We often joke around that in his lifetime, he's went from having an outhouse to an iPhone, which is quite the technological advance. Originally from Indianapolis. I live in Kentucky now. I've got a beautiful farm that I live on with my amazing wife and our 2 kiddos. And so, it's been quite the journey thus far. My team found a YouTube video from 2012 that they sent me today when I was doing one of my first cold drop-ins, where I went in and asked a property manager when I had my lawn care business, if I could give them a quote for their lawn care and landscaping. So it's been quite the journey, man. If I had one piece of advice, I would have to take you guys back to the night that I told my parents that I wasn't going to take one of the 8 football scholarships and be a chemical engineer like everybody expected me to be. I still remember sitting around the dinner table and my dad's sitting there, and I got to tell you, Matthew, I'll never forget the sound of his fork hitting the plate when I told them that I think I'm just going to go make it a go with this lawn care stuff and see what happens. You got to think, man, back in 2007, this was before Gary Vee came along and the word entrepreneur was cool, right? Back then, it was still very much a STEM program, right? You were in science, technology, and mathematics, engineering. So I was going to be a chemical engineer. Passed AP Chemistry 1 and 2. I'm not the typical I was a terrible student. No, I was actually pretty smart in school, and I think that's served me well in life. But being an entrepreneur, man, was not something that was cool back then. And when I told my chemistry teacher and my guidance counselor that I was just going to go out on my own, instead of them trying to find me a mentor, right, to shadow and learn entrepreneurship from, they tried to discourage me. They tried to talk me out of chasing my dream and tried to make me go chase their dream that they had for me. Now, again, man, I'm older now. I look back. Yeah, was that the first chip that was placed on my shoulder in life? Probably the first of many. But they were doing it from a place of goodness in their heart. I really do believe that, man. They saw that I was a very bright student, and they're just going to throw your life away in weedy ditches for the rest of your life. What are you doing, kid? But that worked out, man. I grew that thing to $3 million in revenue and sold it. And, that was the beginning of the entrepreneur foray. And I'll tell your listeners right now, the number one rule that I've found in entrepreneurship and really in life in general is you have to believe in yourself, especially when others don't. If you're going to achieve any level of success, you're going to have people that tell you how dangerous it is, how many different ways you could fail, why it would be better just to stay on the straight and narrow, safe path. But I like to say that this life, you only get one chance at it, but if you do it right, one's enough times. And you got to have a little bit of an adventure. I think it's meant to be lived. And I also just think that over the years I've attached to a higher power, and that's guided me as well. So it's been fun, man. I like to say I'm 37 now, but we're just getting started.
Fantastic. Hey, look, you covered so much in that opening intro, man. I want to go back.
Yeah.
So you said you filmed your first bit of content. You're doing a call in on somebody. What year was that? You said it was like
Yeah,
2014.
that one was 2012. The video that I
12.
found. I
So
made my first YouTube video in 2009, though. Yeah.
so what motivated that? Because that would have been pretty out there to do that film, do that's like
Yeah.
go
I
out
was
there and
20.
have somebody follow you around. What motivated
What?
that?
No, I was in selfie mode. So I was 24 years old, and I had a business coach. And by the time I was 23, 24 years old, I was doing public speaking. Like I've always had this desire to like give back and help others. And so I found a sales coach out of Dallas that I hired at a very young age. Quick story is really funny. When I found him on YouTube, and I said, "Hey man, I want you to teach me how to sell." Like I've figured out that like sales is like the number one thing that matters in business, because if we don't sell, nobody eats, right? And so
Love it.
nothing happens in a business until a sale is made. And so he was like, "Great, it's $6,000. Do you want to put that on a Amex, Visa, or Mastercard?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm in my early 20s. I don't have a credit card. It's got a $6,000 limit. What are you talking about?" And so he was like, "All right, I'll do a deal with you. Write me out 6 individual $1,000 checks, mail them out to me, and I'll cash those each month. And you better be good for them." And I was like, "Okay,"
Yep.
and I had my feet to the fire. And so before that, man, like no one in school had ever told me like, "Hey, there's a potential career path to be a public speaker and an author and a coach," right? Like you almost like find that in your second or third life, right? Because like I think we go through several lives. I think our 20s is a life. Like each decade is a life that you live, and oftentimes people find it later. But I was like, man, I've got good information. I've got a little bit of showmanship, and so like let's get on stage and rock it. And so I made a video, and I said, "Hey guys, I'm just going to teach you all." And maybe you remember this, Matthew. In the early days of the internet, there's these things called forums, right? And so
Sure.
that's before Facebook groups came along and like destroyed forums forever, or Reddit, right?
Yep.
And so there used to be these forums, and there would be like a lot of these like new guys in lawn care and pressure washing and stuff that I was on these forums with. And I just wanted to help them because I had other guys help me when I got started. And so I'm like, "Hey, let's send the elevator back down." And so I was like, "Hey, I'm going to walk in here. I'm going to show you guys how to do a drop in. I'm not selling them anything. I'm just asking for contact information. I'm going to let them know I'm going to follow up to schedule an appointment to give them a quote." So I just recorded myself, kind of like, you see on social media today, people
Yep.
do with those meta glasses. But it was like, the fat man up view because I was just holding my phone. And so I walked in, I did it and walked back out. So yeah, man, I've been making content a really long time, and I just enjoy doing it. And I'm not attached to the numbers. If a video gets 3 views, that's enough for me, man, because that's 3 real people on the other side of that maybe I could change their life.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. I did 75 episodes of a podcast back around about 2015, like early days. And over the year, I was like, oh, this is getting like 50, 80, 100, maybe 500 views. And I was sort of a bit down on myself about the whole thing. And then I was talking to my wife, and she goes, "Well, what business did you get out of that?" And we looked at it and realized that of those people, she goes, "Well, you realize that those 2 customers there, they earned us enough money to put both of our kids through private school that year." I get it. It's quality. So it's quality over. So I really resonate with what you're saying there. So you talked about. Let's actually go forward to being a coach and how you think about that. So when a business is stuck, when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, coach, what can I do?" What's the first thing that you usually see as the constraint that underneath the symptoms of, I don't have enough deals, I don't have the leads, I don't have enough business going in? What do you see as the first thing you talk about?
I guess the first thing I ask them is like, what makes them happy? Because in the world of entrepreneurship, we don't index for that enough.
No.
We do. It's all about up and to the right. And then now with social media, it's very materialistic. What's funny is once you actually make some money, you realize like how gimmicky like flashing a Lambo or a Ferrari or a penthouse in Brickell looks, right? It's like I mean, I could go make videos with that shit for 10 grand in a weekend, right? It's like you
Yep.
can run it all. And so for me, I always ask the entrepreneurs, I'm like, if you want me to help you, I have to know the game that we're playing, right? Like, if you're like, I can't hit the ball, coach, help me. And I'm like, cool, here's a baseball bat. And you're like, whoa, 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 I'm playing golf. Like, that doesn't help you any, right? And so, and I think this is what happens when, be careful how I frame this, but there's a lot of immature coaches that are out there, and I never get it. I never let it get lost on me the impact of my advice, because if you give someone the wrong advice, it could cost them their business and their livelihood, right? And I don't think a lot of coaches understand that or really carry that impact.
The barriers to entry on being a coach is pretty low, right? It's almost as low as being a salesperson.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's even less. Like, you don't even you can have somebody buy your coaching and like maybe it doesn't work, right? It's like, but anyways, I'll save that for a different podcast. But I oftentimes I say, what makes you happy, man? What are you trying to get? Like, what are you trying to achieve? Yep. Because one of my good friends, Tommy Mello, he's got A1 garage doors. They'll do 350 million this year. And when I was on his podcast last year, I told him, I was like, Tommy, I'm so proud of you, dude. I'm so happy for you. But like, I know that's what he wants, right? Like, he eats, sleeps, and breathes to build that A1 company to be as big as it can. And so like, what I find is oftentimes like a young kid might say like, oh, I want to be like Tommy Mello. I'm like, do you? Like, Tommy's like, he's either already 40 or maybe a little older. Like, he doesn't have kids yet. He just got engaged. Like, there's sacrifices, right? There's trade-offs.
Working his face off. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. For decades, plural, right? Like, and so that's why I say, like, what's important to you? What makes you happy? It's like, hey, man, if I didn't have to worry about my bills anymore, like that would make me happy. It's like, cool. Let's index for that then, and then we can readjust. Oftentimes, I think entrepreneurs they don't focus on the game that they're playing, and like that's like rule number one. The second part that I ask them about is where do they feel like they're stuck? Oftentimes, coaches are hired for a reason, for a season. I'll tell you, like, I do not have like a life coach that's been with me for 20 years. Most of my coaches come into my life for a reason, for a season. They get me past a sticking point, and then it's on to the next thing. And I find that when I coach with people as well. I don't really do one-on-one coaching anymore, just because I don't have the time with growing our software business and all of family stuff. I've kind of retired from that. This is like my one-on-one coaching, right? It's like, go find me on the internet. There's tons of free stuff out there. And I don't gatekeep anything. So, I think we got to index for happiness, figure out what you actually want, and then figure out what the sticking point actually is. We talked about this off air. Oftentimes, and I hear this all the time, I just need more leads, man. I just need more opportunities. It's like, yeah, but are you actually capitalizing on the ones that you have? Do you have a sales system? Do you have a sales process? Do you know personality styles? Do you know how to talk differently to different people? Right. And that's not from a like salesy, gimmicky, like, let me manipulate you. But it's like, if I have a hard charger in front of me, like, I better have my stuff on point and I speak in bullet points or laser phrases. If I have somebody that's very relational, like, I'm going to tell stories like I've done on this podcast, right? You have to know, you have to understand who you're speaking to. And then lastly, it's like, where I always love, man, is like the follow-ups, the fortunes in the follow-up, man. If you just go look at their sales pipeline, it's insane to me. I literally had a business owner the other day. I was talking to Matthew. She goes, yeah, DJ, I want to look at like automating some follow-up with AI stuff. I was like, cool, like just automate some text messages. We look at her system. I'm like, Kelly, you just need more text. You got 3 of them in here. She's like, well, I don't want to text them too much. They'll opt out. I'm like, opt out? You got an 11% opt out on the first text you send. The next 2 texts you have sent, no one's ever opted out of them. So like, let's build 20 more text follow-ups and see if we can get people to opt out. Then we'll do it. But oftentimes, Matthew, this, dealing with salespeople, it's like, we put this like worst case scenario in our head, and then we like work really, really hard to convince ourselves that that's the one that's actually going to come true, right? It's like, or it doesn't, and like that next text message is the one that closes your biggest client ever. So
yeah, I love that.
I just threw a lot at you. Hopefully you guys are taking notes, writing things down.
Exactly. I was one of the things we did in the business that I had at one stage is we optimized for the no. We actually made a list of very hard questions, very strong questions that we would get the salespeople to ask, optimize for the no, and actually reward the no. And what happened is sales went up. When the salespeople released the attachment to, oh, well, I've got to hold on to this lead forever, and if I say anything or do anything, they're a little bit if I ask for the money, they might say, it's all going to be a bit scary. So optimizing for the no and actually following up, and exactly what you just said, Coach, is you've got those number of times where you can get those people to communicate, because I think the statistic in marketing is for the first time they see you is the 11th time you've spoken to them.
Yeah,
like there's so many times in marketing and sales you've got to. Yeah. So look, you talk about systems that might come from the fact that you're good at school. Did you say chemical engineer?
Yeah, I was going to be a chemical engineer.
Yeah. So you probably think in systems and in processes. So what are some of the systems you look at and specifically simplify when somebody wants to scale? Because scaling is not about doing more and pumping the handle and being like a one-man band and you're playing the cymbals over here and the drum over here. It's about doing less but doing more effectively. What are the one or two things you think about there when trying to simplify?
AI. That's like if you're going to simplify, like, I don't really think people understand what's coming. And I don't say that like hyperbole. Like I mean it in like the purest form possible. Software optimized and created efficiencies inside of systems that already exist, right? So if you're a doctor, you already took notes about your patients. Software gave you a way to like keep them all in one nice tidy place. And if I went to another doctor's office across town, you didn't have to like mail the file folder over there. They could log in, they could see it, right? Cool. Efficiency pickup in the system side. What AI is going to do, and is already doing, is it will give us efficiency pickups on the labor, meaning the people. Okay. And so if you think back into the Industrial Revolution, right, when factories came about, we had machinery that could now create output that just was not possible before, right? It didn't matter if you had 100 guys. They couldn't pick up a steel I-beam. You had to have a crane for that, right? It's the same thing that's happening right now. And so if you're a high-performing salesperson, you maybe have an assistant or two or three that does follow-up for you, make sure that your pipeline stays filled. You've got some SDRs that are working for you. I would venture to say in the next 36 to 60 months, that same performer will be able to do that with agentic AI, meaning they will have AI agents that work around them and with them in the business. And, again, this all takes time, but I love the saying that technology is undefeated, right? And so if we're going to talk about systems and processes and improvements, I'll give your listeners a great one. It's an easy one. It's free. It's Notebook LM. It's a Google product. You can take all of your system SOPs and processes and upload it into a single Notebook LM, and it instantly becomes a searchable AI-powered database. Do you realize that just 5 years ago, an HR company like Deloitte would have charged you $150,000 to create something like that, and now you can do it in an afternoon? Those are like the real efficiency pickups that are coming, dude. And I don't think people see it. I think some of us see it, and those are going to be the first mover advantage people. You have to remember Bezos in 1995, when he raised the first round of money for Amazon, he was raising $1 million. He said it was the hardest round they ever raised. He had 60 plus investors that he went to. Some of them didn't even know what the fucking internet was, dude.
Who wants to buy books on the internet? I want to walk into a store and look at the thing, Well,
not even that. They literally didn't know what the internet was. They're like, he would get to the end of his pitch and a guy would go, "What's the internet?" Like the dude hadn't heard about it, right? And you might think that this is like so like that doesn't happen with AI. No, it's happening, dude. I was just hunting in Southern Tennessee last week. I go into the little diner in Fayetteville, Tennessee, and this sweet little girl comes over. She's 28 years old. We get to chatting about one thing or another, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, use ChatGPT," and she's like, "What?
Really?
You don't know what ChatGPT is? Like what?"
Wow.
And so like if we're in the software space, if we're close to the fire, we always see it amplified, right? But like there are still people that aren't on the platform. But yeah, I would say look to AI first, man. Like there's this thing, my friend Matt Relack draws this chart. It's like, what do you do the most of? And what is the output reward? Meaning like it's the best lift, right? I told him, I said, hey, you need to change that because, like, what do I do the most of or should be doing the most of, right? Because, like, salespeople are like, oh, I do the most is, like, pitching deals. It's like, yeah, but you should be following up, right? Because one call closes are not something you build your business on. They're great. They make you feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside and give you something to brag about to your team. But most times it's going to happen after that persistent follow-up. And especially if you're in a B2B world, dude, one of the things I figured out is like, if you're talking to a decision maker, like the owner in a small business, you follow up with those guys for 6 months. It's like a wrestling match. They finally just tap out. They're like, you know what, dude, your follow-up game's tough. Like, if you work this hard for me once you're hired, like I know this is going to work, right? Like, let's do the deal. And I see that not happening. Salespeople, man, they don't follow up enough. And I think AI is going to help that tremendously.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, since I started my first business back in the day, is that we used to put advertising in the newspaper or, do the door knock, literally newspaper, because I started my first tech business in 99. So, and people would phone and then sales would do all the work, right? Sales would provide demos and do follow-ups and they would also provide literature, documents and brochures and all that sort of stuff. Well, marketing does all of that now. And so the salespeople actually, the role of a salesperson has been compressed down to this moment where their whole job, it's never been more important, never been more crucial that the salesperson be on their game at that time when the person's willing to speak to you, because really speaking to somebody is the last thing anybody ever wants to do at the moment, it seems. So they'll do the research and they'll come to you and you've got to be absolutely on point. So speaking of being on point, when you're working with clients, what do you find yourself providing advice around? And then when you look at that client and the ones that maybe not necessarily making it or not, what's the one bit of advice they walk past because they don't take it seriously enough?
That's a good question. I have an analogy that most business owners step over hundreds to pick up tens.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And that happens a lot. Anytime the yeah, but, right? Like if I'm coaching somebody, like, yeah, but, it's like, it's just not sales mature, right? They're not looking for ways to implement and execute. What I like to do is somebody gives me something that I'm like, I don't think that'll work for my business. I'm like, well, but if they said it works, maybe I should just try to figure out how to shift it or tweak it a little bit to like make it work in my business, right? I also think that in life, if you can find reasons to do versus excuses not to do, that always favors well for you. And this is also like, this is why I wrote my book, The Hunter Head Game, is like, we live in this world, man, where lots of people just want to play the victim now. And in the last decade, it's almost become like socially acceptable, right? It's like, there's a pill for that. There's a shot for that. There's there's somebody that'll like let you lay down on the couch and talk to them about that. And that's not to downplay any of the struggles that people go through. Like I understand there's legitimate ones before you guys hop in my DMs or in my comments. Go, you don't understand, coach. But I just also think that like the business world is the jungle and there are apex predators. And so you can either be the hunter or the hunted. If you would say like advice, I'd say that's too anecdotal for me to like say like, oh, this is the thing they pass over. It's always different. Oftentimes it's not drastic changes. It's small tweaks, right? So I fly airplanes. And so like, it's like, getting off the ground and landing are like the big things, right? Landing's just a controlled crash. But it's like in business, if the business is up and running, a lot of times it's in-flight adjustments. It's a small heading adjustment. And if you're a CEO and you're listening to this, you're probably not going to like this one, but oftentimes it's bad leadership, man. We just had our Christmas party, and I take everybody out to a really nice steak dinner, and then we go to the ballet to see the Nutcracker. It's really fun. And I had a new young kid that works for us come up to me. He's just graduated with his MBA. He's a developer, engineer, and he said, DJ, I just wanted to say, man, I really appreciate you letting me be on the team, and I've really enjoyed working with you guys. I was like, hey, thanks, Vivek. No problem, man. He's like, no. He's like, the first couple times I met you, I was like, this is a cool guy. I think I'm going to like working with him. He's like, but I've worked with some other people like project base in the last few months, and not all business leaders are the same. I'm figuring that out. And he was like, it's hard to find somebody that cares about their people, that put them first, right? Oftentimes I see selfish leadership, right? It's just me. I want to win. I want to make money. You guys go do it, right? That doesn't work. This isn't the 1950s anymore. People don't just show up and work hard because you're giving them a paycheck on Friday, right? And so like I would tell you guys, if you're listening to this right now and you're in a leadership role, look into the mirror and do a checkup from the neck up, because oftentimes the thing that needs to change the most is you, right? It's not a new software. It's not a new strategy. It's not a new AI. It's you just need to become the better version of yourself to get you to the next level.
And where would they focus? Where would they think about when they do that look in the mirror? What would be the first step that they would take? What's your I guess first port of call when it comes to looking at those types of things?
Yeah, I'll steal one from the late great Jim Rome. He says, when you're working in a job, don't ask what am I making, ask who am I becoming, right? And if oftentimes when I talk about like life purpose, right? If we're gonna like get super meta on this and like go super wide, it's like how long have you spent looking for it, right? Like your life's purpose doesn't just like show up and ring the doorbell one day. You have to spend time in meditation and prayer and in silence. Go for a walk in the park. Especially with these things, dude. I mean, my phone stays on silent and do not disturb. Like my family even jokes around. They're like, yeah, I hope nothing ever happens to anybody because we won't be able to get a hold of DJ. Because it's like, I check that thing when I want to. But that's not the norm, right? Most people, if I sit down in a business meeting, Matthew, it's like their phone's like, bzz, 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 beep, beep, bump, bump. I mean, it's just like nonstop, grabbing for attention. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're going to look in that mirror, I think I would ask myself, who do I need to become to get to the next level that I want to achieve? And
I love that.
The beautiful thing, and also the downside, the upside and the downside, both in one, is that you're the only one that can control that.
Very cool. So I really like that. So so as businesses are growing and as they're scaling up, what do you think most business owners misunderstand about, if they come to you and say, hey, I want to go from A to B, I want to scale this thing. What's the one or two bits that they're sort of not understanding about what it's actually going to take to get there?
Yeah. If you say, hey, I want to go from A to B, I'm going to say why. Because that why is what will carry you when the fecal matter hits the oscillator. And that will happen. That old Instagram quote of entrepreneurs are the only people that'll work 80 hours a week for themselves so they don't have to work 40 hours a week for someone else, right? It takes sacrifice. And so like that's the second part of the question. Why do you want to achieve that? And then secondly, what are you willing to give up to get it? That Beautiful. Oftentimes, Matthew will talk them out of whatever they told me in the first line, right? Once you run through that scenario, you're like, yacht in Cayman Islands, I'll be fine with a 20-foot Sea Ray bow rider that I can just take out on the weekends with my family. Maybe we can get there, right? And this is not to say lower your goals. Like it's always fun when I do these podcasts because like I'll get people that'll DM me like, you said stretch. It's like, dude, it's like nothing is absolute in this life other than like death and taxes. You don't have to do anything else, right? Like you don't even have to breathe if you don't want to, right? It's just death and taxes. Those are the only two things. I guess you can get away with taxes for a while, but they'll probably catch you eventually. But it's like there are no absolutes in life, and so it's always fun when people like try to ask for like absolute advice. But that's why I was like, the best coaches I've ever had have asked me questions to get me where I originally wanted to go, right? Like, I want to go to A to B. What do I need to do to get there? It's like, well, why do you want to do it? Well, because it would be awesome. Cool. What are you willing to give up? Nothing. It's like, see where we're going here? It's like, probably not going to happen. All right.
There you go. That's so you've spoken a couple of times about your recent coaches and mentors. I know you're working with some pretty big names out there, some of the biggest out there. So if you think about the last couple of conversations you've had with your various coaches and mentors that you work with, what are some of the learnings that you specifically have taken away? You're now, as you said, you're in your 30s. You've been doing this for a dozen or so years, maybe more. What's the current new insight that you've had that you might want to share with the people listening?
Yeah. So, man, it was a very like, sobering event when I'm like, man, I'll be 38 next year. I started my business when I was 18. So I'm like, I'm almost 20 years into this thing, right? Of being this entrepreneur. Most recently, we just did a partnership deal with Dan Martell through Martell Ventures, which is his AI software incubator, accelerator, venture studio. And so Allie is our AI platform. She's a lead detective, so she detects leads through your phone line and from your website. And so it's been really cool just to be able to work a little closer with Dan. And I would say it's not like a direct like thing that he said, but just more of an observation of how they operate, and the cadence and the the healthy pressure that exists inside of the venture studio, right? Like we're all in a hurry to get somewhere, right? Like there's this sense of urgency, and I find that a lot, Matthew, with successful people is like they have an innate sense of urgency, and that's not something that I think you can like really like will into people, right? Like it's they either have that or they don't. Some of those innate talents, and that's what I love about sales, because like that age old question of like, are salespeople made or are they born? It's like I think it's a little bit of both. I think you certainly have an advantage if you're a natural orator like myself, right? Where you can talk to people, you don't know a stranger, and you're very outgoing. But that doesn't mean that someone that's less social but is super analytical and is like detailed in their follow-ups and nothing ever falls through the crack, they could be just as successful, right? But I think that's the fun in playing this game of business. But yeah, the biggest thing I've taken away from Dan though is just like the snappiness, right? Like the cadence, the urgency. It's been really cool because like you think you're moving fast, I've had some really good successes in my life up to this point, but then it's like you meet somebody like that, and you're like, whoa, man, there's a whole new level to this game.
There's a
So
whole new level.
That's been fun.
That's Mate, that's so cool because there's the realistic, what I've seen in my businesses. You're right, the observation around urgency, but then also there's a huge trend in social media is to sort of take back control of your life and answer emails in your own time, and and I am, don't work after 5 p.m. and all this sort of stuff. And I see this come across my feed, and I think these people are just aiming for the dead set middle. They're gonna get real. They're not really gonna. They can't achieve extraordinary without being extraordinary. And the ordinary is becoming very, very popular.
Um, yes, with an asterisk, meaning that if someone's like, man, I work my ass off and I work 10 hours a day, I'm like, cool, show me what you did yesterday. Because oftentimes it's a 2-hour lunch. It's doom scrolling in the morning.
Yeah, show me your screen time.
Yeah, it's not, you're not actually working for 10 hours. And so I would say, yeah, I mean, you can have a work-life balance and actually achieve a very high level of success by putting those healthy boundaries in to say, hey, at 6 p.m. it's shutting off, it's my family time. I don't do that personally. Sometimes it's the family, sometimes it's the business. It just depends. I mean, it's 5:30, 8 p.m. here where I'm at tonight when we're recording. I got another podcast to record after this, and so I think it's okay as long as your partner is along for the ride, right? Where I see that being a problem is like when one partner wants you to be done at 6 and the other partner is like, no, I'm working till 2 a.m., right? Like if you don't communicate that, that can be an issue. And as I've gotten older, man, I try to share more of that because I'm not the 24-year-old kid making content anymore, right? That's like, just go out there and hustle and grind and get it, right? Because like that's what it took when I was 24, right? I wasn't married. I didn't have a family. So like, yeah, what else are you going to do other than work your fucking face off? Because that's what you should do in your 20s. And then you build in your 30s and then you enjoy it in your 40s. And then I think I'll spend my 50s, 60s, 70s, good Lord will, in my 80s and just give it all back, man. Pour into other people and make the world a better place.
Good for you. Fantastic. So, look, I want to think about those habits, because you talked about urgency. You talked about, so are there particular habits that are for you or for your clients that you work with that are non-negotiable? This is what happens, or is it you take more of a bespoke approach? And if you want to talk about your own habits, then do that as well.
Yeah, I think you got to do whatever works for you. I've done it all, man. Like I've done like the 4:30 wake up. It's like that works really, really well until you have a couple kids, and then it's like my son's 6 months old. Like I'll tell you, in the last 6 months, if I've been up at 4:30, it's to feed him, right? Or to help the wife. It wasn't to like get up, do my cold plunge, and go to the gym. Now I do think like your health and your fitness is very, very important. I break this down into an acronym called FRESH, FRESH. So, and to me, this is like how I kind of like split up my life. And when you talk about habits, they typically fit into one of these 5 buckets. So it's finances, relationships, your environment, your spirituality, and then your health and your fitness. For me, I think the health and the fitness part is good. If I see somebody that's stressed out and overweight, I'm like, hey, an easy way to not be overweight and not be stressed out is like, just go hit the gym, right? Go for a jog, go for a run, go for a walk if that's all you can do. But you got to move your body. I also think like life is nothing more than beating gravity every day, right? One day gravity will win and you will not rise. You will stay where you're at and and you'll be in a lifelong slumber. So for me, like I think health and fitness is good. Like I said, I'm coming and this is just me being me, man. I'm not on here to front and say like I'm some Superman. It's like, no, it's like in the last 6 months, like some of that has went by the wayside because I've focused more time and attention on my relationships, right? With my kiddos, with my wife and helping for the past 6 months. Habits on the finance side, I look at my bank balance every single day. I think what you pay attention to grows, and so Tony Robbins says that where energy goes, or where attention goes, energy flows. And so, I think looking at my bank balance on the finance side relationship, I will kiss my wife goodnight every single night. I don't care if we've argued or I'm not happy with her. The environment, the best thing you can do is hire a cleaning person, man, to just like keep your place clean, keep it tidied. It does so much for your mental health. Keep your vehicles clean. That is something that is very, very powerful. And then spirituality, man, if I can find 10 to 15 minutes a day to just pray in gratitude, to thank God for what he's provided, and to say, hey, keep sending me blessings because I'll be good stewards of them. Those are kind of some of those habits that I tried to align with in those 5 categories.
Yeah, I like that. The cleaning up. I think that there was a Bradley Cooper movie where he took the pill and it becomes able to access his whole brain. And the first thing he did was clean his house. He didn't go out there and make $1 billion. The first thing he got himself organized. He cleaned his house. And so that's really I like how you've couched that. So you talked about attention. You talked about what you focus on expands. And so what is your attention on in 2026?
Yeah, so my intention in 2026 is around this partnership with the Martell team. Leveraging
Can you talk more about that, or is it too early?
Yeah, and a little bit. Dan's coming on as a strategic partner. We were picked out of I think over 400 companies they had looked at. We were one of a dozen, and so again, it's our software platform called Ally. You can go to hireally.com, ALLI, hireally.com.
I'll put
And
some
again,
links down below.
yeah, I appreciate that, man. She
No
detects anonymous website visitors. So, the biggest challenge with small businesses is they pay a bunch of money in advertising to send people to their website, right? You get the attention, but then there's no conversion. And the Harvard Business School says that most websites convert at a 2 to 5%. And so you got 95% of your traffic that's hitting your website, never to be seen again.
Bouncing.
Yeah, what Ally does is identifies those people at a personal level. Like there's a lot of competitors out there that'll do it at a business level. Like, hey, somebody from Procter & Gamble looked at your website. Like these are actual like personal level information so that you can do email outreach, which is legal in the US. Again, check your local jurisdiction because I know Canada and the EU are a little different. But in the US, as long as you're following can spam, you can email those people. And I always like to say, if you sell hot tubs, right? And like there's 3 of you guys in town and someone's looking at all 3 websites, you have Ally, and now you can proactively reach out to that person. It allows you to contact that customer earlier in the life cycle and give yourself a better opportunity. And then the AI voice component of her is just insane, man. You talked about demos for salespeople. I always love when people are like, yeah, but AI is not going to take my job, right? Well, all the creatives thought they were safe. And then it started making videos and images, and they're like, shit, right? And now, like, all the salespeople think they're safe. And now it starts talking on the phone. You're like, uh-oh. And so, for us, man, I think it's been really cool to just see the technology grow, to be on the front edge of it. And it's all about just entrepreneurs and small business owners are so close to my heart, man. It's like I want to help them. And to fight the big guys off, right? You've got to adapt to this technology because that's one of the only benefits you have of being a small business, right? You take a big corporation. We've got clients at Allstate. We've got clients at State Farm. It's like those big corporations, dude, it takes years for them to make changes. Right? Small businesses can turn on a dime, and that's like one of the biggest benefits. And so, so that's the partnership working with Ally. And then, the other big thing in 2026 is just I'll be on book tour coming up early part of January. We go out on the road for about 8 weeks. I'll take my family with me, and we'll be speaking all over the place and getting the Hunter Head game out into more entrepreneurs' hands so that they can move to being the hunter and not the hunted, man.
So what's the 2 or 3 key areas or ideas that are coming out of the book?
Yeah, so the I don't know if you guys can see it back there, but like at the top of it, it says the old world rewarded obedience, the new world demands killer instincts. And so we're transitioning out of an economy where you go to school, you get a degree, you get a really good job, and you work there for 30 years and you retire with a pension, right? I don't know. There's a guy that recently went viral. He worked at GM. He was 88 years old. He's working at Walmart. And the guy's like, why are you working at Walmart if you worked at GM for 30 years? He's like, well, when they went bankrupt, I lost my pension. And a lot of people don't know that. Like all those guys that had worked at GM for all those years, they lost their pension once like GM went bankrupt.
Wow.
And so like the dude's back working at Walmart, 88 years old. And so what used to be safe isn't safe anymore. And what I think is the best skill that you could develop is how to be a hunter, which is how to be a salesperson, right? Because I think that will be one of the last things that's replaced. And ultimately, whether you're in business for yourself or not, this book is like, I call it a motivational book, but I look at myself as a motivational trainer, not a motivational speaker. So this isn't just like a rah-rah, get you fired up. There's like stuff in here, like one of them I talk about my SOSC method, right? That is struggle, opportunity, solution, close. Like there's real world frameworks inside of here that can help you grow your business or grow you as a person so that you can make more money. Gosh, you asked me to whittle it down to 3, dude. I worked on this book for 10
If you
years.
want to do 10, go do 10. That's all good.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I worked on this book for 10 years. This manuscript was 500 pages. And we used Claude and ChatGPT to edit it down because it got so big because I was just writing, right? Like I wouldn't say daily, but at least probably once a week, right? I would like journal my thoughts. And so like, it's kind of cool as we were editing the book where I can be like, those were 26-year-old DJ lessons, right? Those were 31-year-old DJ lessons, right? And so like, it was kind of cool to see that. And then AI did a really good job of blending it all together, tying it all together. And we put parameters around it. We said, hey, you have to use 80% of the text from the manuscripts. So like it didn't just like go off and like make wild shit up.
Yeah, make some random stuff up.
I had to catch it during the editing process, but like I talk about one of my cousins who got killed in a drug house, man. I talk about my mom having cancer, and it was fun, man. It allowed me when I write in silence. I write in like solitude, and it allows me to really get vulnerable and write down things that I wouldn't otherwise like be able to just come on a podcast and share or put into a video. And so I think it's probably the most distilled version of Coach Carroll that you could probably get. So, if you've enjoyed what you've listened to thus far, would love for you to grab it. You can go to hunterheadgame.com. We also put together a custom AI. It's a notebook LM that's trained on the book. And so after you read it and you're like, hey, what Coach Carroll say about early mornings? It's like, here's what it says in the book. So it's pretty neat. You guys get that for free.
Yeah, very cool. Well, it sounds like a great place to finish up. I just wanted to finish up with one last question is if there's one thing that you're one or two, I'm happy to give you more than one because I know you've got lots of experience, lots of thoughts. What's one or two? Okay, maybe 3 or 4. But yeah, what's the major takeaways? Let's say somebody comes across you for the very first time during this podcast and they've listened to it so far and they go, this is interesting stuff, but what can I go ahead and apply? What's the tactical do this? What's that 1 or 2 things that you can think about that they could go ahead and execute on that'll change how they look at 2026 and beyond?
Yeah, I don't know when this will drop, but it's irrelevant. Take an hour of time, sit down in silence. Don't like phone away. Not laptop notes, like pen and paper. Sit down for an hour and just write out all of the problems that you think you have. Because I believe that once you've written down your problems, you're halfway on the path to solving them. And oftentimes this like world that we live in where we hear about, there's more anxiety now than ever before. And it's because of social media and scrolling. It's like, no, it's because we're all just a bunch of head cases, man. Nobody writes anymore. Nobody slows down long enough. And like, you'll see, like you start writing, I'm dyslexic. So like, it's even worse for me, but it's like when you start writing things out, you're like, man, my brain's moving 10 times faster than my hand can. It's like, yeah, that's the point, right? It's to slow down and actually write down your problems. Because what will happen is as you're doing that, don't solve the problem. Don't solve anything. Just write them down for an hour, right? Until you just can't go anymore. You'll probably be at like maybe 15, 20 minutes in. And then I want you to look at that list and find what's the biggest one. What do you think that if you solved that one, it would make the biggest impact? Circle it and spend the remaining of the hour, flip the paper over, and just write out potential solutions. Just data dump the craziest ideas you can come up with that could solve it. That is a key thing that you guys could do right now in the next 60 minutes of listening to this podcast or watching this podcast. That will have a crazy impact on your life if you've never done anything like that before.
I love that, DJ. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you've got another podcast to do straight after this and probably another couple before Christmas happens. This is going to drop around about end of January. So that gives people a good way to sort of launch into 2026 beyond. I'll put a link to your book and the software below. If anybody wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way for somebody to get in contact with you?
Yeah, on all social media, you can just look up hashtag Coach Carroll. I'm out there, YouTube. I've got long form content, short stuff across the other social media platforms that have slower attention spans. And before you guys go and find me and check me out, go leave Matthew a review on his podcast and subscribe to it, like it, share it out there. That way he can get more eyes on there to help more people. You guys can continue to grow your community. I can't thank you enough, man, for inviting me in and letting me spend some time here, give me some space to share my story. And hopefully I motivated a couple of people and fired them up to become their better self in 2026.
Fantastic. You sure have. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Thanks, man.